Are you tired of spending your time and money chasing strategy after strategy only to discover what worked 10, 5, or even 2 years ago is not working now? Things shift fast in the online space, and if you're not keeping up, you're getting left behind. It's time for something different. Welcome to the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast, where every single episode will be jam-packed with proven, profitable strategies, behind-the-scenes secrets, and what's working now resources from industry experts and global influencers to help you scale your business, shorten your learning curve, and stand out in a crowded, noisy marketplace. And now, your host, award-winning marketing and media strategist, and international speaker, Patty Farmer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast. I'm your host, Patty Farmer, and I'm looking forward to sharing today's industry expert with you. And I am really excited because I have to tell you, it's not all that often that I will talk to somebody and they will tell me something or share something with me that I have literally didn't know, hadn't heard of, or hadn't seen it really from that perspective. And I have to tell you, our guest today in a conversation with me laid out some great information that literally then went to my Facebook page and walked me through it. And I was like, wow. So she really kind of wowed me. So I knew I had to have her on the show so she could wow you too. So I hope you have a pen and paper because you're going to want to take some notes. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. So Diana Morgan is a marketing strategist, author, national speaker, and successful serial entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience. And she's passionate about teaching, inspiring, and empowering entrepreneurs to discover their passion and turn it into a successful business. Diana specializes in training on how to master the art of online communication, networking, and client attraction. She's an expert with online and offline strategies, showing you how to apply them to your business to get results. She understands the challenges of building a strategic and authentic online presence that will bring you the right clients and has the patience and know-how to help you through those challenges. She offers live and virtual training and done-for-you internet marketing services. That is so wonderful. So thank you so much, Diana, for being here with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm super excited to be here, Patty.
I have to tell you, I've known you for quite a few years. And I have to tell you, it's so funny because I always like to tell people all the time that the people that you can learn so much from, you probably already know them. I mean, it's not like we shouldn't be out networking and building relationships all the time. But I think sometimes they're in your own backyard and you don't even realize it. And I got to tell you, when we had that conversation and you were saying something to me and I was like, what are you talking about? And we went to my Facebook page and then you were like, oh yeah, did you know that if you could do this? And I was like, when did that change? And literally showed me so many things. And I was like, how did I not know that, right? Because we all know that a lot of us haven't been in the last year spending as much time on our Facebook business page because we keep hearing about the algorithm and how Facebook isn't really promoting those. It's really all about groups now and all these different things. And so I think that you reminded me of something that maybe there's other people out there who aren't thinking about it either, which really is that we should be really everywhere if that is really where our ideal client is, and not to just listen to other people say, oh no, you don't really need to be there. We really need to do our own testing. We really need to know where our clients are and really do the work, right? And so things change all the time. And I have to tell you, something had changed there that I didn't know about. And I was super excited and interested to really see what that was because, to be totally honest, I hadn't really been spending as much time on my Facebook page either. So if you're out there in the audience and you haven't been actually using Facebook to the best of its capability, I'm going to tell you, you're going to want to after this episode. So we're going to dig right in. But before I start asking you about that and we start deep diving, Diana, tell us a little bit about your background, because I'm sure you didn't just decide that this was what you were going to do. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
I will. Thank you, Patty. I call myself a recovering corporate misfit, and I never really fit in there. And plus, I had a son, and I wanted to be a stay-at-home and a working mom. So my avocation was being a non-denominational minister. So I decided to turn my avocation into a business so I could be a stay-at-home and a working mom. And super long story short, I got ahead of the curve on social media, or actually it was the internet back then, not quite social media. I was in that business for 20 years. And in the last 10 years, I built my business to over 100 weddings a year. I had 6 other ministers in my ministry, and I was among the top paid ministers in the San Francisco Bay Area doing non-denominational weddings. So that was great, and it was a great run. And then I realized I needed to have a different life than doing weddings, and it was great, but it's a very intense life. You know, in the wedding industry, you have 7 months where you have great income, and then you have 5 months of the off season. And if you're a DJ or the wedding planner, you can go to corporate. But when you're the officiant, you kind of have to figure out what else to do. So because I had become so successful with my internet marketing strategies, and back then it was just getting to the top of Google and learning how to crack the code with SEO, I started to help the other wedding professionals and became very successful with that. Got my first photographer to the top of Napa Wedding Photographers, and it was like, oh, this is fun and this is easy and I like this. So I started to do that and realized that because of who I am, I realized I could help a lot of people and really help heal the world by switching over to helping, conscious entrepreneurs who are healing the world with their businesses. So 14 years ago, I made that transition to create Whole Heart Marketing, helping conscious, purpose-driven entrepreneurs to grow their businesses online. And this is sort of like the funny part of the whole thing, because I am a very spiritual person, I'm a thought leader. And, I woke up one day about, 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like, really, God? Facebook? Really? And I started to think like, oh God, is this my life? And because I have the opinion of Facebook that many people have, that's just this superficial, ridiculous thing. So because I am a thought leader and a visionary, I went back in and started to think about it some more. And that's how I got to where I am now.
I love that, because I think it is so much where we don't always realize, right? And then some aha moment happens that really changes the course for us. And I like to say sometimes leads us onto the path of what we know we were supposed to do and what our passion and purpose is. So I always really love knowing that, right? Because I think it's really, really important. So now that we've kind of really said it's all about Facebook. So would you say Facebook is really, for you, do you really think Facebook is really the number one place to be?
Well, actually, I do. I really do, Patty. And the thing about Facebook is, all social media platforms are essentially search engines. And there's a lot of misconceptions about Facebook that I would like to dispel some of them today.
I would love that. That was actually going to be one of my questions.
Okay, as many as possible. So first of all, a lot of people think that, Facebook is just social and fun and LinkedIn is the real business one. And the thing about that is that it's 2+ billion people that we're talking about. So it's really got to be more than just social. And yeah, I'm going to share a few different things. I'm going to share differently on LinkedIn than I am on Facebook, but Facebook is the mothership. Facebook is the one that, like I tell people, if you are going to be on social media, you want to be on Facebook. And I do recommend that you should at least be on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And then of course, Pinterest, if you have something really visual and that makes sense to you. But Facebook is, it's business. But, the thing that I really want to talk about today is how to do Facebook correctly. And one of the things I always say is like, I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, I kind of would look around and think, everybody's really happy and I don't feel that way. And, and what's wrong with me? And I think you can kind of feel like Facebook is like high school and everybody's putting all their their best face forward and nothing that real and authentic. And that can be true of Facebook. And it can also be a really positive and powerful force for change in the world, and a very powerful strategy for growing your business. The thing that I really want to emphasize is that, the internet, I call the internet the great equalizer, because anybody can be successful, but you have to really be doing it right. And that's the thing, back to my background in search engine optimization, is that it's about a 2 to 3 word phrase. It's about clarity and focus. And you can be doing all these things. You can be posting every day and doing all these things, but if you're not doing it right, you're not going to get the results. And then you're going to conclude that it's a big time suck and a waste of time. So I want to talk about how to do it right.
Well, before we get started on how to do it right, let's
Okay.
go back to what we were talking about and talk about what are some of the common myths that you can dispel first. Because sometimes it's just as important to know what not to do as it is to know what to do.
Okay, great. So again, the biggest common myth is that Facebook is just social and LinkedIn is just business. Facebook is business. And, I think that it's really important to get that. So that being said, one of the things you don't want to do is just show up to sell. A lot of times that's what people do, is they just sell, sell, sell. Another thing that people do that I feel is really, really detrimental to your online presence is that they don't use their personal profile and they just use the business page. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But, your business page is still valuable and you can't ignore it, but you also can't just use your business page. They're not separate. The business and the personal page are really connected and work in tandem.
I think that's so true. And, most people, when they connect with you, they connect with you on your personal wall. I mean, I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I'm always, every time I go and speak, I have to kind of clean it up a little bit to allow for new people to come in. So I'm always vetting my personal wall all the time. But I think that really that's where you get so much engagement. And that's where really the conversation is. And that's how people really find out who you are. And I think people really need to remember that it doesn't matter what business you have. You're not the only person who has a business like that. And it's the know, like, trust factor that's going to make them determine if you're the person that they want to hire. And that doesn't always happen on your business page. That's so the only place they see you, right?
It's so true, Patty. And the thing is that being said, you have to really decide who you are on your personal page. If you are using your personal page to vent and put a bunch of, I'll just say political posts or super religious, and it's not a part of your brand, what happens is it becomes a distraction for people. And you're going to get a lot of content on your personal profile that is not relevant to what you do. It's not the kind of things that your followers want to see either. So it offends people. It's a distraction from your message. And, you made an interesting comment about us being friends. And you said, a lot of times your friends are in your own backyard. And that's actually one of the things that I tell people is go straight to your friends to see who you want to play with on social media. Many of us already have those connections and we're just kind of looking for more and more and more. And I'm going to go to another one of the myths, which is that it's just about getting likes on your business page. Because the thing is, those likes are, unless you're going to boost posts and really get into a certain strategy on your business page, those likes are not really worth a whole lot. What's more valuable to you is even a handful of friends on Facebook who are going to, I say, play with you on Facebook, which means they're going to, like, comment, share your posts. They're going to refer you. They're going to interact with you. I know that you are so big on this, Patty, and, that group that you have and all your JV strategies. It's like, it's really about your personal profile and how to get free organic reach. And that's one of the strategies I want to talk about.
I think that one of the things people don't realize is sometimes they think Like one of the biggest myths I want to be able to say, and I don't care if you're speaking, if you're on social media or whatever, it's not about you. It's always about them. So people who want to talk about themselves all the time, it's like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever. The thing is, that may give you a little bit of credibility. I'm not saying it won't, but the reality is what people want to know is what are the results I will receive if I hired you, right? So it's really all about them. And I think that when you're on social media, it is so important to do that. So as an example, for me, it's always about how can I spotlight or shine the light on somebody else. And part of that strategy is because I have an amazing network that I do like to share and have be a resource. But also part of my brand is that I want people to know that I am that resource and that I can be that go-to person, and that if I can't help you, I know somebody else that will. And I can't tell you how many times people will write to me, send me messages and say, Patty, how can I become one of those trusted people that you refer or talk about or spotlight, whatever word you want to insert there? And it's not by paying me money, right? It's about, it's really about building a relationship, and a relationship that because when you endorse somebody else, you're putting your name up right there. And so you have to be super careful. And I'm going to tell you, and I really want to ask you this question too, which is about Facebook, but it's also about networking in general. One of the things that I learned early on in my business was built networking and on collaboration. But one of the myths that I really see, and it's actually a practice I would like to have people stop doing, which is that just because you're in a networking group with somebody, if you don't really know them enough to endorse them, sometimes I see people give referrals because they're so excited because they're in a networking group and they want to make themselves look good by referring somebody that's in their networking group. I have had people give me some really bad referrals. And then when I went back to them and said, you referred this person to me and this is what happened. And their answer was, well, I didn't really know them that much. We're just in a networking group together. Well, if you're in a networking group and you just give somebody a name, that's a lead. That is not a referral. So be really, really clear in knowing when you're putting your name on the line, because I don't refer anybody unless I absolutely know they can deliver. So I think a really myth, and I see people do it all the time on Facebook, right? They're on Facebook saying, oh, you need to connect to this person or that person or this person. Be really careful when you do it and make sure that you actually know that person and know them enough that what you're choosing to do is something that you're opening yourself up for, because I think it's super important. So how do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And it makes me crazy too. And one of the things about Facebook is that a lot of times people just sort of feel like they don't want to use Facebook or social media because they feel like, oh, well, I just want to keep that personal relationship, with people. But social media offers you an opportunity to get to know people on a deeper and more intimate level if you really use it the way it's meant to be used. And, I guess I could say in the strategy that I teach. But I cannot agree with you more about that, and I think there's a difference between saying, check this person out. I haven't used them, but this is what they say they do, versus, oh yeah, this person is great. So I think it's fine to tag somebody. Many times someone's looking for a certain thing and someone will tag me. And I'll say, yeah, I don't do that. Or no, that's not my lane, but here, maybe try this person. Or I'll say, oh, this person is excellent. Yes, do that. It's just like if you were in person. And the other thing is I want to take that networking to the next level. When you are at a networking event and you meet somebody, it's a great opportunity to say to them, hey, let's stay connected on social media. And then actually go home that night and connect with them. If you wait a few days, they might forget who you are. And then the other thing about that is, after you connect with them, here's one of the total don'ts on social media, okay? Listen carefully, super tip, don't do this. Do not go and, number one, don't go immediately ask them to like your page, and don't immediately plaster a private message of something promotional in their private message. That is like the biggest turnoff. And when people do that to me, I actually have like a little
blurb,
templated message that I send them back that says, hey, I'd like to offer you an educational moment. And I tell them, let's get to know each other first before you immediately start promoting to me. And then the other thing is, say you're at a networking event and you notice somebody across the room or somebody introduces themselves and you didn't meet them in person, but you would like to become more connected to them. You don't want to just go home and friend them. What you want to do is send a private message to them and say, hey, Patty, I saw you at the networking event. I heard you introduce yourself. I love what you do. I've checked out your personal page and your business page. I would love to stay connected on Facebook. Would it be okay if I send you a friend request? So that's how we create really authentic connections.
I really love that. When I friend request somebody, one of the things that's important to me is that I have all my interest lists, and there is not one of those 5,000 people that I'm friends with on Facebook that are not in at least one list. I create a list for everything, where they're located, if they're in a small town, what's the closest big town to them, what state they're in, if they're a blogger, have a podcast, if they're a speaker, if they're in marketing, whatever the case may be, so that way, when they answer that friend request, it could be a month later. Not everybody is on top of that, right? And so then when I'm looking at them going, why did I connect with them? Like, I immediately know. I just look at the list and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I connected with them. And I have a special list that I use that for me is called rock stars. And those people on that list are people that I want to cultivate, that I'm looking at going, you know what, there's something they do that I'm interested in. I haven't really built a relationship with them yet, but I want to. And I put them there so that I know. And that's where so I have everything segmented so that this way, as a speaker, I travel. If I come to a town, I want to be able to go right into my list there and be able to say, oh, who do I know that's in that town or does this or whatever the case may be, so that I use my time well when I travel. But I think that it is really important to know why. And then sometimes it's really easy to be able to know what is the thing you have in common, so that way when you have a conversation with them, I can literally say to them and say, I really want to know the people that I'm connected with. And I know that you have this or that, or, you're a blogger and I thought this blog was really interesting. I'd love to have a conversation about it. But it gives you something to draw from so you can have a much more dynamic conversation. And I think it's important.
Absolutely. And it's also important, for me personally, I do not, every single person, I have about, 3,700 friends, and every single one of those people is not more than 2 degrees of separation. In other words, I know them, or we knew 100 people in common when we connected, and now I know them. Because, that's the way you avoid that annoying Facebook thing that happens when you have people who you don't know, and you have what people call hacking your Facebook, which isn't really hacking your Facebook. They really just take your cover photo, your profile photo, and they create an email address that's very similar to yours and create another account. Most of the time, they have not hacked into your actual Facebook account. They're just copying it with a very similar email address. But you avoid a lot of that by not friending people that you don't know.
Absolutely. Do you believe, or is it your practice to keep on your personal page, to keep your friends public or private?
I have everything public.
Oh,
because
really?
For me, social media, it's really, I'm kind of one of those people that I am who I am wherever I am. And we live in a world of transparency. And I feel like if I'm putting all of this effort into my social media, I want to reach as big of a population as possible. And, a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I don't want my family members to see all my stuff, or I don't want to post businessy things to my friends. But here's the thing.
Put them in a group and then do a custom thing so that they don't see it then.
I know, but the thing that I was going to say is, I've heard a statistic that each of us represents 50,000 people at 6 degrees of separation. So how do you know that person in New York isn't looking for what you do, even if it's local, even if you do massage or you're a dentist or whatever, that isn't going to refer your friend in New York? I have a friend in New York who has referred me people in the Bay Area. So to gate my posts and to say like, oh, well, this is just for people in San Francisco Bay Area, or this is just my friends, I don't do that, because I think that we all are, we're all one community, one world. And I don't put a ton of businessy stuff on my personal page. So I don't worry about the 10% of business stuff I put on my personal page being too much for, people who are not directly somebody I might market to.
That makes sense. I think it's also important, though, that I think people are a little bit better at it now, in the sense that, we're not as tolerant of people who don't do social etiquette well. I mean, right. I know there was a time where my children actually would be like, Mom, please don't ever say anything about us, because they don't want to ever, even if they like something I post, because then people send them friend requests because they don't realize that they're my children, and that is such bad social etiquette, right? And so I finally had to protect them, and I did put them into a group separately for that reason, but also because people do tend to sometimes, I know they'll spam, they'll just be like, oh, such and such is an influencer, and then they connect to them, and then they want to go find their friend list, and then they do it. People do things wrong just as much as they do things right. And it's not going to benefit them if they don't do them right, and they'll find that out in the long run.
Exactly.
But it is true that it does happen. But we could talk all day about this, and now we're going to flip back over. So let's talk a little bit about business pages now, because I think that is really important. So do you have I know you do, have like a formula that you like to talk about, really, that is like a social media success formula?
I do. Thank you for asking. It's really, again, I'm in the 14th year of this business, and I can tell you this is tried and tested, and I can tell you that this is true for pretty much all of your internet marketing, not just social media, that the business and personal page work in tandem. So I want to back up just a little bit to say, as I mentioned, the internet is a great equalizer and anybody can be successful. That being said, there are many different strategies to be successful on social media. And the determining factor is, who are you talking to and what are you selling? So the strategy that I'm going to talk about right now is for people who they're selling themselves, essentially. They're selling relationship. They're selling connection. They depend on the know, like, and trust factor to get clients. Maybe they're authors, speakers, thought leaders, coaches, even, practitioners and healthcare provider practitioners. They're people, again, you're selling yourself. So if you're selling a product and, there's a message with it, this potentially could be a strategy for you, or if there's a story and a message. But if you're just selling a product, there are other strategies, and this isn't necessarily the strategy for that. So in this lane, my social media success formula starts with 50% of your time is connecting, networking, and it's actually with your personal profile. So it's playing on social media, being authentic, sharing what feels comfortable to you. Okay, so you have to test the waters of how personal you feel about what you share. I 100% agree with you. Like, I think the cardinal rule when you have kids is to keep it separate. You have to, unless your kid has given you permission to share about them and do all of that, the cardinal rule is, that's a whole separate conversation. So the personal and business page work in tandem. So 50% of your time is networking, connecting, building relationships. That's on your personal page, and you can't pay someone to do that. You have to really do that yourself. You can pay.
Kind of like you can't have a gym membership and pay somebody else to do the push-ups for you.
Thank you. I'm taking that one. Because people know when it's not you, especially when you're up at the front of the room speaking, and you look at someone looks at their phone and sees that you just liked their comment or something. So you can't pay someone to be you. You can pay somebody to do your promotional and your business posting. So your personal profile is connecting, it's sharing, it's networking. And so what are you going to share? That brings me to the next percentage. So 50% is playing on your personal profile. 40% is educate, inspire, and motivate, which means on your personal profile, it's education in the sense of what inspires you. What do you want people to know? It could be related to your business, and it could be just related to life in general, but hopefully you have a brand, you have a lane that you're in, and everything you share comes through that lane, through that brand. And then your inspiration on your personal page, maybe it's, I see you do your quote of the day, Patty, and your quotes they're spiritual, they're business, they're all kinds of different things. And that's what I recommend. I do that too. I have some quotes I share from images and some quotes I share on a branded quote tile. So educate, inspire, motivate. So I want to just review. So that's 50% network, connect, build relationships that turn into potential referrals and clients. 40% educate, inspire, and motivate. And then 10% of your time is promoting. So back to the educate, inspire, and motivate. On your personal page, it's personal related, it's a little businessy, but on your business page, it can be total business. It can be, your blog, your education, your tips, all of those things on your business page. And then 10% is promote. Okay. So the 10% is maybe, a link to something free. I really recommend that I'm using air quotes when I say that you sell something for free on Facebook, as opposed to trying to sell something that, or if you have a lot of influence and you've been very active, you could do an easy, yes, like a $47 or $97 something. But in general, you're going to do much better with a free thing that you can then share your next thing with them after they've experienced you for free.
Okay. And then when you're talking about the 10%, what is different in how you would present that 10% on your personal wall versus your business page?
Okay, great. Thank you. So like, for example, on my personal page, if I have a free webinar coming up, I will actually absolutely share it a couple of times, but I'm not going to share it every other post. I might share it twice a week. And I might share it a little bit more when it's like the day before or something. Hey, everybody, don't forget my free webinar is coming up. Versus on my business page, I'm going to share it. It's going to be a regular, come out every few days. But the thing is, so the next question people are thinking is, well, how many posts a day should I share? So if you're sharing 2 posts a day, maybe you did 2 in a week, you're doing like 2 or 3 quotes, 2 or 3 educational posts, 2 or 3 articles, maybe linking to interesting information, and then you're sharing a link to your webinar or to your event or something you have going on. The thing that I wanted to say is one of the things, this is like a super tip, okay? So write this down, that the highest reach that you will get on your business page is images, and especially people love quotes in really pretty images, okay, even more than quote tiles. Then quote tiles are second highest, but quotes with images are the highest. So if you share maybe 3 times a week, you share a quote, an image with a quote, then people engage in it, maybe they share it, they definitely like it or comment on it. They will see your next few posts for free. So this is a great way to get free reach on your business page. So I'm going to share that one more time. You do 2 or 3, you share maybe 3 quotes a week on images. And then after that, you share maybe an article link, maybe your blog link, and then you share your promotional link. And people are going to see it because once they engage with a post, they're going to see the next few posts in their feed.
What about video?
Video is the exponentially highest, reach. So absolutely share videos. We could do a whole entire conversation on videos.
Well, do you think on your Facebook page, what do you think is the sweet spot of doing a video? For how much time?
Are you talking about Facebook Lives or?
I'm talking about video first, and then I'll ask you about Facebook Live. I think they're separate answers.
So for just video, I think the sweet spot's about 5 minutes because Facebook wants you to do it over 3. And if you do more than 5 minutes, I can't, I don't know that people really watch it unless, you like, if you're going to do that, if you have a series and it has a really intentional focus and every Thursday we're doing a video on something, I think you could do a longer video, but it has to be really engaging and really focused.
What about Facebook Lives?
Facebook Live. Did you hear that?
Yes, I definitely heard that.
Okay. So there is, in my strategy, there is a right way and a wrong way to do Facebook Lives.
Good.
I think the right way is, again, like if you do a weekly thing, I highly recommend that your Facebook Lives be intentional and focused. I recommend that you really consider Facebook Live etiquette, which means if people start getting on your Facebook Live, don't start saying, I'm going to wait until more people get on and talk and hi, so-and-so and this and that. People hate that.
Oh, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah. So get on there, do an intentional Facebook Live. There's a couple different kinds of Facebook Lives. So one Facebook Live is the educational variety this is what I'm talking about. And so, you do a weekly thing, you do 5-10 minutes. You could say, hey, put your questions, I'll answer your questions at the end. If you say, put one in the chat if you're listening and things like that, Facebook will actually decrease your reach on those because they consider it engagement bait. So make sure that your engagement is authentic when you're doing Facebook Lives. Then you can also do Facebook Lives sort of like documenting an event. You're at a networking event. One of the things that I've seen people do, which is kind of fun, is, grab somebody, hey, Patty, come do a Facebook Live with me. Give 3 super tips. And, you do it right when you're at the event. That's kind of fun. And, you can start out by saying at this event and we're, this women's networking event, and I'm going to introduce the person and have them give 3 super tips, something like that. Those are fun. And I actually still will do some Facebook Lives on my personal page because I know I'm going to get more engagement there. But I kind of keep them, I don't do them super businessy. I'll keep them at a more personal tone.
So you don't share them from your business page to your personal, you actually just do them on your personal?
Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes I do. If I do them, the other thing I'll do, if it's an educational Facebook Live, then I'm going to upload it to my business page and then share it to my personal page or to wherever I'm going to share it, in my groups, etc.
And what do you think about doing Facebook Lives in a Facebook group opposed to doing a Facebook Live on a Facebook page?
Well, I mean, honestly, your best bet is doing things in a group. And I advise my people these days, this is like hot off the press, start a group, because in a group, if people have their notifications turned on, everybody's going to see all the posts. And you have so much more bang for your buck in a group than you do on a business page, unless you're going to pay. And I do advocate and totally recommend doing boosted posts, but you have to be doing it correctly. I have had great success with boosted posts. But
what are a few tips about that? Let's go there.
Okay, I just want to go back to the group for 1 minute. The other benefit of a group is that if you're using good keywords for the title of your group, and I recommend that you have your group and your name in your group, like Whole Heart Marketing with Diana Konkov Morgan, because then if people are looking or expressing certain words, Facebook is going to recommend that group to them. So you get free promotion from Facebook for groups. So back to boosting posts. One of the strategies that I've used, which works really well, is if I have like a free webinar, or if someone's doing like a book signing, whatever anybody, it has a date on whatever you're doing, whether it's virtual or in person. And then you create a Facebook event for it and you boost that. And that has worked really well for me. The other thing is now this strategy I was using, and it's been strange because sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But if you have the option to boost to people who have liked your page and their friends, that's a really good boost. Some people have it, some people don't. Don't ask me why.
Well, Facebook does things, but I think that that's kind of really interesting. I like the idea of boosting the Facebook event. I think that is really good. When you do your Facebook events, you put them on Eventbrite as well?
No, I have everything on my website. I like to have people go to my website. And
so when you have a Facebook event, you have the Facebook event, but drive them to your website?
Yeah, to register. And if it's free, I have them go onto a list. And if it's paid, then I have a button for them to pay.
Okay, so now let's go back to Facebook pages. So what I would say is if we were talking to someone who did not have a Facebook page at all, or they have one that they pretty much haven't used, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say are the first, let's just say 3 things that they should do first?
Okay, the very first thing is the name of your page. Now, I've had my page forever, so my page does not have my name in it. But if you're new to Facebook right now and you're just or you're going to start a new business page, I recommend that you put your name in it. So that way, if people are looking on Facebook, if they search you, your business page will also come up. And I recommend that if you can, try to use keywords in the name of your page. Okay,
I think that's interesting that you say that, because there has been this back and forth thing. And literally, as a strategist, I can tell you a good strategy either way. And so I know that I used to have my business page was Patty Farmer, strategist and speaker, right? So I wanted people to know those are the things. And I used to do that. And then someone told me that I should have my business page be my name, so that this way, once they started allowing us to have our page join groups, that was a good thing. And so, there was really strategies going back and forth both ways for that. I'm one of those people that when I first created, I'm going to tell my age now, back when Facebook first started and we all stayed up to midnight that night when they were going to let us create vanity URLs.
Right.
At that point, I had a podcast. Well, actually, it was a live radio show then called Networking CEO. And I had my name be that, right? Which was really kind of dumb, because looking back, it should have actually been Patty Farmer, right? Of which somebody else has that now that has the same name. So I couldn't get that even if I wanted to. So when I went to my business page is Patty Farmer CEO, which then I just went and made Instagram and Pinterest and everything be Patty Farmer CEO for that reason, so that they would match. But I always kind of kicked myself in the butt for that. But there was nothing I could do about it, right? So looking back. So now I always like to say, really think about what your strategy is going to be. But I did used to like it so people could tell when it was your page and when it isn't your page.
Right.
But sometimes right now, people really do like to join Facebook groups as a page. How do you feel about that as a strategy?
I want to talk about that strategy.
Oh, good. Let's talk.
I do not recommend that. Again, everything I'm saying comes from the lane of people that I'm targeting who are, building relationship. And so imagine if your page is called Many Moons Hair Salon. I'm just pulling that out of thin air. Many Moons Hair Salon liked your profile. Many Moons Hair Salon wants to join this group. It's not a person. I do not recommend playing on Facebook as your business page. I recommend playing on Facebook as your personal profile, as your name.
I love that. I won't even accept people into my Facebook group if they try to join as a page instead.
Well, there's a setting where you can say they can't join as a page, because it's just impersonal.
Because you want to build a relationship with somebody that's a person.
And the next thing, that just going to the second thing about your business page is, do not have your logo as your profile photo. You want to have a picture of yourself. I actually use the same picture of myself on all my social media for my profile photo. Now, for your cover photo, you could have your banner from your website. You want to have a picture that brands you. I actually have a 90-second video as my cover photo, which I feel has been working really well for me, where I'm just saying the mission, my mission and vision of my business. So then I just want to say, on your personal profile, then you're going to have a personal cover photo that brands you professionally, but it's still personal. and not your business logo or a flyer or something like that, which I've seen all of those.
I tend to change my cover photo on my personal.
Yeah.
I have like 3 business ones, but when my magazine, comes out every 3 months, I have one that I use then. But I have different things, but I put personal things up there too on my personal one. But like what you said, I agree with you. I have, for consistency, I do have my profile picture be the same across the board so that people recognize you.
Right. Yeah. Because I had a situation a few months ago. It was really funny where this woman came up to me at a networking event and she's like, Diana, hi, how are you? It's so great to see you. And I'm like, hi, how are you? And I had to kind of struggle to, finally I asked somebody else what her name was. And I couldn't believe that it was her because I had met her once, hadn't seen her in a few months, but I saw her on Facebook and her picture was so outdated that I didn't recognize her then when I saw her at the networking group.
I agree with you. I think one of the greatest things anybody has ever said to me, and I hear it a lot, is when people say, you know what, Patty, when I meet you, you're exactly the same in person as you are on social media, as you are when I hear you on the stage, as you are when I see you on a webinar. And I think that's important.
It's important and it's powerful. And it's the same for me. People will come up and because they feel like they know you.
Exactly.
Okay. And then tip number 3. So it's your URL, it's your picture and cover photo. And tip number 3 is to basically go through, make sure your description, and like you said before, make sure your description, it's what's in it for them. It's not a resume about you. And then, so the 2 areas where you're going to be able to add in information, the about, and up at the top where it says settings. And that settings, if you just basically go through each of those settings, most of them I leave on default, but you want to fill in all your tabs. You can have services and you can have an offer on your business page now. It's in those settings in the tabs, and it's called the tabs. And there's so much stuff you can do now on the business page. It's very cool. And it's
just so people know, that was the thing that you had told me. So early on in the beginning of the show, when I said that she had shared with me something that I didn't know, when she shared with me that I could be putting my offers in the left sidebar, and when she explained to me how I could be putting some of my opt-ins there, I was like, when did we get to do that? Like, I was really surprised. I knew that you could do it, but the way you can do it now is what's really different. And I think it was really important. And Diana was so gracious that literally she said, oh, well, let's just share our screen and go over there. And she literally was so generous that she just helped me switch it out right then and there. And I have to tell you, she really knows her stuff. So I just have to say,
thank you. Yeah. So I think those are the main things. And then, what I do with right below the cover photo, I call it the 3 magic dots. There's numerous places on Facebook. Whenever you see 3 dots, those are the 3 magic dots that give you all kinds of...
Are you talking about the business page right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Underneath the cover photo, you'll see where those 3 magic dots are. And in those 3 magic dots, one of them is where you can invite your friends to like your page. So after you get your page completely set up the way you want it to be, then you can start inviting your friends. And what I do, as I mentioned, I don't invite my friends the minute I friend them. So about every few weeks, I go in and I kind of know who are my newer and my older friends. And I'll just go in and invite people to like my business page every few weeks. And so I catch the new people and some of the old people. And why do I do that if there's no point in getting likes? Because then if you boost posts, it does benefit you to have likes.
I think that makes a lot of sense. You have really, really given a lot of value, and I really appreciate that. So how can my audience connect with you?
Well, they can connect with me on my website, which is Whole Heart Marketing. That's WHOLE, heartmarketing.com. I have a blog that comes out every couple of weeks with non-techie strategies in plain English to grow your online presence that they can stay connected. That's the best way. And there's a contact where they can contact me if they want to, just chat or find out more.
Perfect. With all this great information, you didn't come empty-handed, and you have a gift for my audience as well. So tell us a little about that. We'll put the link in the show notes. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about the gift.
Okay, so what I have is a gift. It's a live virtual training that was recorded, and it is just really how to use Facebook for free to get noticed and get more clients. It's how to really understand social media. I think one of the biggest challenges that people have is they just really don't understand social media. I think that once you understand it, I call it having a social media mindset breakthrough. It really changes things for you. And this webinar, it's a foundational webinar. If you watch this webinar and implemented the tools that I'm going to share with you, your social media results will change and improve.
Oh, I love that. So Diana, we come to the part of the show that I like to call #OpenMic, kind of my version of social karaoke, where I pass the mic over to you. And, the show is called Marketing, Media, and Money. And we really like to encourage and ask our guests to share their number one marketing, media, money strategy that's working now. Right? So what's really working for you right now? So if you could share that, I'm going to pass the mic over to you, so to speak, and share with us that strategy.
Okay. My number one strategy is that when you think about the internet is a 24/7 networking opportunity. So just like you go to a networking event in person and you connect with people and you go there to show up authentically, to care, to build relationships, it's really the same thing on the internet. If you think about the internet and how you are showing up, you want to think about every time you get on any social media site, you want to think about, who am I talking to? How do I help them? What is the offer? What is the transformation that I offer? And then you want to come from that place to decide, who am I going to play with? And what am I going to share? And how am I going to brand myself? How am I going to be on social media? And then you want to show up consistently. Okay, so just the same as if you go to a networking event, if you're in a group and you only go once every 3 months, people don't recognize you when you come back. It's the same thing on social media. Show up consistently, show up to care. So caring is connecting, acknowledging, responding, and engaging. Show up to care. And what you'll find is that you're going to just start building more and more relationships, and you're going to start getting more and more referrals. And every time you get onto social media, be strategic and be intentional. That's why I call this intentional social media.
That is fabulous. Thank you so much, Diana, for being here with me today. You were so generous as usual and stuff in sharing it. And I really love your perspective. I think it really helps to be able to look at things through a different lens and to be able to really share some different strategies. So I hope everybody here took a lot of notes and that they're seeing things a little bit differently and ready to make a few changes. So they're going to go and take advantage of that gift and get that training so that they can implement, because that's what it's all about, right? Taking action. So thank you so much, Diana, for being here with me today.
You're welcome, Patty. It was my pleasure.
And thank you, the audience, for joining us on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And make sure to join us on Facebook and the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine, podcast, and events Facebook group. We would love to have you get up close and personal with our guests. Everybody out there, please, until I talk to you again, or until you listen again, make it a phenomenal day. And remember, if your day isn't phenomenal, you have the power to change it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. To shorten your learning curve even more, make sure to grab your free copy of the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine at www.marketingmediamoney.com. I promise your business will thank you.